You can get the next episode of Sworn right now on the TuneIn app. On TuneIn, new episodes of Sworn are available 1 week early. Download TuneIn today and listen for free.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
Protests continued this weekend in Ferguson and around the country.
Quit resisting.
It makes no sense. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Judge, you are the last line of reason in this case.
Every one of us took an oath of office, and we're sworn to uphold the Constitution.
From Tenderfoot TV in Atlanta, this is Sworn. I'm your host, Philip Holloway. I wanted to take a second to tell you guys about this new subscription box service called Hunt-A-Killer. Hunt-A-Killer enables you to dive deep into the mind of a serial killer by piecing together clues to an ongoing murder mystery each month. The Hunt-A-Killer storyline sets you up as a volunteer to be a pen pal to a patient in a treatment facility for the mentally disturbed. Your pen pal will confide in you the details of his twisted desires through eerie letters, objects, codes, and clues that uncover his true motives. It's the perfect challenge for someone who loves poring over creepy codes, ciphers, and clues and wants to put their crime sleuthing skills to the test. The company only accepts 500 new memberships each week, so make sure you apply ASAP. You can apply for membership online at huntakiller.com. If you're approved for membership, you'll receive a private link to subscribe. To help support our show, Hunt-A-Killer has offered a 10% discount for our listeners. Use the code SWORN and get 10% off. That's SWORN for 10% off at Hunt-A-Killer.
I haven't went out investigating and asked questions like y'all do. Some people will talk to me, some people won't. Some people are scared. When it first happened, everybody's afraid they'd get killed.
Last episode, we talked to the local news outlets that covered the Widemans case. We also talked to a local family friend. It's been hard for us to get a lot of the details straight. We needed to talk with the current Turner County Sheriff, Andy Hester. I tried sending him a message, and Mason tried calling twice, but we got no answer. I reached out to him by phone and by text message, but I had no luck. Finally, I decided to send one of the Sworn producers in person to see if we could ask him some questions about the Widemans case.
December, November, October, September.
On our way down to Rebecca, we stopped at the Turner County EMS and Fire Station and met a group of nice people who were willing to sift through the fire report documents to find the one on the Widemans case.
I have July, so it's filed in with 2001. Because fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30th.
They brought out a box of paper files that they had in storage.
2002, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Their fiscal year runs July 1st through June 30th, so even though the Widemans fire took place in 2002, it would be filed in with the 2001 reports.
So March is into 2001 if you want to go see if you can find it. We used to have to do monthly reports and turn it into forestry now. So that means it's either burned or it's... That's why it's not solved, because the reports are gone.
Maybe she's right. They looked for us, but they couldn't find any of the 2001 files. Apparently, the protocol is to keep files dating back 10 years. And after that, they're burned.
There should be a fire report for that. I mean, I didn't know we threw anything away.
We were connected with Brad Calhoun, the husband of one of the EMTs we'd spoken to earlier.
I know they said the sheriff's office definitely has a copy of it, but
yeah,
I don't know if they'll give it to me.
I can call them. That shouldn't be a problem.
Brad is the county and district commissioner, so he got us in touch with the sheriff, Andy Hester.
How you doing? Good, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Andy Hester. Come on back.
Well, I'm Andy Hester, and I'm the sheriff of Turner County. Spent about 25 of my years here in this county, whether it started out with Ashland Police Department and then came to the sheriff's office.
We got lucky. Sheriff Hester was in his office, and he was willing to talk to us.
Status of the case is it's open. It's raw to all of us that work here because it is to me. One, being I grew up here and knew the family. Two, being I'm the sheriff of this county and people expect me to keep things fresh and worked on, and that's what my goal is, to make sure that it's not laying down stagnant. Since I've been sheriff, I know I've called the GBI office and met with their SAC at the time that came down when I first become sheriff. I called them and asked them to come, and that was the specific reason, to say, pick this case back up and please look at it harder and look at it. If anything was not turned over, to turn it over. There's a lot of information. I can't tell you that there's not something there that could solve the case. I can't tell you that there is, but I can say that there's a lot of information that's been gathered. It's very important that people, if they know anything, it don't matter if they think it's important or not, it might be a little piece of thread that connects two things together that we need connected that will solve the case. And do I want to tell people that, yes, it will be solved? I want to tell them that. And I want them to be encouraged to anything they hear to please call and tell us. That's what we're here for. They ain't going to be bothering us. They ain't going to cause us to have any undue work that we don't need to do. We need to do that work. If they don't trust this sheriff's office, call the GBI office. Those guys, they didn't grow up here. They don't have any friends involved in either side. And if there's any question, I hope there's not. I hope the public that has all the confidence and trust in the world in the sheriff and the sheriff's office here. But if they don't, there's an avenue that they can take to keep us clear of the information. They can call the GBI, and the GBI will work that case with that information without us even knowing. That's fine. I want the case solved. I don't care how it's solved. I don't care who it is that did it. We want them in jail. They murdered 3 people, and they need to be brought to justice. That's what our goal is. And I wish we could release a lot of information out there to people like you that are, all you want to do is solve a case. I wish we could, and I don't want it to seem like that we stonewalling or putting up barricades for you or the public, but there's just things that are detrimental to cases that you don't release.
Early on in our interview with the sheriff, we were met with a common roadblock in cases like this.
I really can't tell you that information because it'd be information that don't need to be released.
You see, with multiple agencies involved and the fact that they all consider this technically an ongoing investigation, whatever that means, even though it's nearly been 15 years, they still don't want to open up about the facts of the case.
That would be something you'd have to talk to the GBI about.
They still don't want to talk about what they're doing to keep this case moving.
I couldn't release any of that information to you. I wouldn't be able to release that information. The GBI would have to release that to you. That's information that the GBI would have to release if it's released. I can't tell you that either.
Are they doing what Sheriff Kendrick pleaded with the GBI to do back in 2005? Are they actually doing something, or is it just simply sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust?
Any murder is important to me, and I've had people say, well, we have other cases that y'all don't put as much interest in. We did, and some of those are not murders. They've been a suicide or they've been something else. And, of course, the family's always convinced that their family members was a victim of somebody else's hand. That's not always the case, and sometimes you show that it was what it is and they're not satisfied with it, and I understand that. I would probably be the same way if it was somebody I loved, but we have no interest other than solve crimes. It don't make my check go up to solve a murder, and it don't make it go down to not solve the murder. My interest in my heart is to put bad guys in jail for committing crimes. Going home and laying my head down at night knowing I'm doing the right thing for my family's name and for the public is my goal. I don't gain anything from covering something up or uncovering something. It don't gain me anything. What will gain me is if I do the right thing and put people in jail that are criminals. That's the goal. I just want the public to know, and we depend on them as much as we depend on each other to get this job done. Once that it was determined that there was someone in the house, at some point that morning we contacted GBI and let them come to the scene and started processing the scene after the fire was extinguished and determined that there were people in the home. They came and processed it before anything was moved from the residence at all. They came initially before, and once the fire was out, before anything was taken from the scene, the GBI was called and they processed the scene. Crime scene taped off, and there was several days passed before that scene was released. I do know that the remains of the home was sifted through, and I mean sifted, I'm talking about sifted with a piece of equipment that sifts ashes and things of that nature. So I know that it was processed thoroughly.
We asked the sheriff about the fire reports. He didn't have them, and it sounded like he'd never even seen them.
Now, Brad told me that I don't know if they could find it or whatever. There should be a copy of the fire department report in the case file. And I mean, that would have been all in that. There's a box of stuff that the GBI has, and it's all in that case file. I know there's a lot of information out there because people, however they found out information, there's been a lot of, and some speculation and some could be truth to some of it. I couldn't confirm or deny. I know that the contact was made with their families that morning. I don't know where they were at in reference to where they were when they were contacted. I do know that some of the family members came out to the scene that morning. So as far as who contacted them, where they were at when they were contacted, I didn't contact them myself. So whoever done that, I know it's probably in the case file, but I don't know who did it or where they were at when they were contacted. Some of them live in Rebecca and some of them live in Tifton. And so they were probably notified pretty quickly after it was determined, that somebody was in the house. I'm sure they were notified pretty quickly after that. I know the ones that live in Rebecca, Charles Henry and Diane Widman, Chip Widman, Larry and his wife has been very adamant and persistent, which they should be, about, the case being worked on, and I agree totally with them. But I know that everybody in the county has their opinion of what they think, which at this time, everybody that could be interviewed has been interviewed, whether they were a suspect or a person of interest. I know the GBI's interviewed and exhausted all those avenues. And certainly if there's been new ones over the time that have come up, the GBI has responded quickly and promptly to go and follow up any leads. And so, our hope is through whatever means, doing the news interviews and things like this, that somebody somewhere will, remember something or maybe have told somebody at the time and that person didn't act or whatever, or didn't relay that information on, that we can rehash it again or visit it again. But I can't tell you we have a suspect, and I can't tell you we don't either. I do know that every avenue has been checked on that could be checked on, whether it led to new information or whether it ruled somebody out or ruled somebody in. I can't tell you that either. But we have, and recent as Sunday, got information that's been given in the case that could be beneficial. We don't know yet, but it's everything that we can gather. Some one little something can make the difference, and that's what we're hoping. And I hope that some little something comes along that's the piece to the puzzle that we need. And I feel like somebody out there knows something that maybe will help, whether they think they give it before and then it just didn't work out or not, or I hope they'll refresh it and say, look, Sheriff, we told this before, but we want to tell it again. And I make sure that it's, goes to who it needs to be and that it's followed up on. I mean, I kind of feel like the coach in the deal where I want to make sure everything's done that can be done. I think that we could have been a lot closer than we are now. Do I think there's some out there somewhere? I do. I think there's something that's just not been reported or something that could be picked up on outside that physical location there, because everything that could be got from that physical location has been got. A fire destroys a lot of things, but I do know that anything that could have been collected was collected.
These days, you can get practically anything you want on demand, just like our podcast. Listen whenever you want, when it's convenient for you. So why are you still going to the post office, dealing with their limited hours? You can get postage on demand with Stamps.com. At Stamps.com, you can do anything that you can do at the post office, and you can do it right now from your desk with Stamps.com. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or any package using your own computer and your own printer. And unlike the post office, Stamps.com never closes. You get postage 24/7 whenever you need it. You know, here at Sworn, we've got a lot of things that we've got to send through the mail, but going to the post office just takes too much time, so Stamps.com has solved our problem. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, use the name Sworn for this special offer. You get a 4-week trial. This includes postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Sworn. That's Stamps.com. Enter Sworn. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
Just out of history of doing this job 27 years, that when somebody acts alone, it's a lot harder to catch them than it is if you got somebody that's helped them. I know that. I don't have a clue. I couldn't tell you if there was 1 or 2 or 5 in this instance. But I know that people have a hard time keeping their mouth shut. So I hope that somebody somewhere knows something and they'll tell. I think it caused maybe some anger in people that are just convinced that they know who could have done it and that they hadn't been arrested. But it's just not that easy and to just say, well, we think they did it. We got to have the stuff to put them in jail. And so the unfortunate thing is that we as law enforcement, of course, I got a bunch of people here that didn't grow up here. I know everybody, all of them, every part of the family on both sides. And so, there's always speculations about, well, the sheriff knows this or knows that or whatever. But I got investigators in GBI working this case that have no clue who any of these people are. They don't have ties to them. They ain't connected to them in some form or fashion because of living here. And so that alone, I hope, takes the conflict out of people's minds that, well, the sheriff can control and do what he wants to do with cases, and that's not the case. My interest is to solve cases. I don't care who they are. But if there's anybody that has that kind of a conflict, I want them to be assured that the people that work this case, that work at the sheriff's office and the GBI, have no connection with these families at all, either way. They don't have a dog in the fight either way, so there's no influence. I try to stay as clear from cases like that. My deputies, when they go out and answer calls, if they know families like that, I'll try to steer another deputy to that location just because of the mere conflict it causes in people's minds. So I think that's the only thing that's affected the community is they just think that they know who did it and they think they should be in jail. And I agree with them. I want somebody in jail too that did it. As my personal experience is, you always start closest you can to the incident, the family and things of that nature. So now what kind of cooperation you get out of them, I don't have a clue. Some of it could be the fact that they are, wanting to be patient and let the GBI, they don't want to do anything to interfere with the case either. And some of it could be other reasons. I always start inside the house and work out with missing kids because I have found them laying in the closet asleep and they think they've been kidnapped and they're in there sleeping in a pile of clothes. So I always start in the center of the house and work out. I think that's a good rule of thumb for anything. You start in the center of the conflict and work out, you find out a lot of things moving outward. So there's a lot of people question. And certainly all those that were closest to the family, I know they were questioned. I think they were all interviewed, starting in the middle of the house. You start out and question everybody. We were all interviewed about everybody, the families and stuff like that. We were all interviewed about that stuff. Everybody's always skeptical about releasing something that ruins a case because then it makes us look bad. And the sheriff shouldn't have done that, or he let out something that caused them to lose the case. That's what we're scared of. We're scared of letting out something and then getting to court and they throwing it out because we released it and it's tainted a jury or something like that. That's what we're scared of. We're not scared of, we don't have anything to hide. It's all about integrity of the case and knowing that a lawyer is going to look for that little chink and he's going to say, well, didn't you tell so-and-so this? And then it ruins that piece of evidence. So we're really skeptical about releasing in-depth information. It's not that we're trying to hide anything from the public. We just don't want to lose the case. It's a two-edged sword. We want to get it out where we can get help. But then if you give it out, it costs you in the end. So then we're like in a two-pronged thing there. We're like, how much, what do you tell? What do you say? I mean, and that seems like, well, dang, it would help. But then it ruins it at the end. I'm not the best at what I do. I strive to be, and I probably don't know everything I should and shouldn't release, but I try to be as open to the public as I can. They expect me to be knowledgeable enough to know if I'm going to cost the case in the end to lose it, and that loses their respect in me for that. So then I have to weigh out all those options. So it's rough sometimes.
Since they're still considering this an open investigation, how will we ever know if they're doing the things that John Dawes says that they should be doing? How are we supposed to know if they're actually looking at things, if they're actually talking to people? Are they re-interviewing witnesses? Are they actually doing something? Have you ever tried a Kind bar? You might have even seen them in your local grocery store, coffee shop, or gym. They make delicious, healthy snacks using whole ingredients you can recognize and pronounce. If you're ready to try some tasty and healthy snacks, we've got a special deal for you. You can try 10 different Kind bars for free. All you pay is shipping. When you sign up for the sample box, you'll also get to try Kind's Snack Club, where you'll receive monthly snacks at a discount and get members-only bonuses. This free sample box has a wide variety of full-sized Kind snacks, including their fruit, nut, and chocolate bars, pressed fruit bars, and even a sweet and spicy bar for you to try. My favorite is the peanut butter breakfast bar. To try 10 different Kind bars, go to kindsnacks.com/sworn. You shouldn't have to choose between your health and taste when it comes to snacking. That's why both award-winning chefs and nutritionists love and recommend Kind bars. Visit kindsnacks.com/sworn to get your free sample box. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you help make this podcast possible.
I think the case is solvable, yes. How to solve it, I don't know. I can't tell you. I think we missed our chance. I think a lot of the evidence has been disappeared.
Remember the guy whose name has been censored throughout the podcast? Here he is. We got hold of him, but again, he asked us not to use his name. He told us a story about one of the persons of interest in this case.
Jason Walker. Him and Melissa was dating at the time, and they tried to pin it on him, but I don't think he done it. Do you know that was his baby, don't you?
To recap, Jason Walker is the supposed father of Melissa's child, and immediately a target of suspicion. But according to the story that this family member told us, somebody he knew corroborated Jason's alibi that night.
She was an EMC, and she went and knew Jason Walker too, and knew their history with dating and all that. And she said she was at his house that morning. She fell to his truck, and the hood was cold, so he didn't drive that truck that night.
He trusted that person enough to believe it couldn't be Jason. After a while, he began to express his theories on who may be responsible and told us some findings of his own.
We was all set up to have a lie detector test, and the Widemans decided they wasn't going to have it, and we didn't have it. And that's all I can tell you. I mean, as far as legality things. Why? I can't even, they wouldn't nobody give me an answer to that either. All my family was set up to do it, had a day set, and then all of a sudden, kaboom, we wasn't. Now, how does that happen? I mean, there's a lot of questions like that I could ask, but I can't give you no evidence. This thing consumed my life for 3 years after it happened, and I decided I had to go on my way, it affected my whole family. So I haven't went out and investigated and asked questions like y'all do. Some people will talk to me, some people won't. Some people are scared. When it first happened, everybody's afraid they'd get killed. I wasn't going to be the executor of Deborah's estate. It's all going to the Widemans anyway. I mean, it's their money, but they had problems. But they kept the death certificate away from us for 3 months. And the Widemans had it, done all the stuff, and we didn't know nothing. The parish, which was the coroner, Perry Funeral Home, and I didn't know nothing about it till July the 3rd. And when we met at the lawyer's office, Cheryl Bryant's office, with Charles Henry Wideman, and I found out they had the death certificate for 3 months. And that's when I decided to be the executor of Deborah's estate so I could find out something. These connections, one of them Perry's wives was kin to the Widemans, was in the courthouse. All of the life insurances was done before anything happened, before the Widemans. He wasn't executor, I wasn't executor, but it all of a sudden got done, and we got one life insurance to pay Deborah's bills, or Tom Joe and Deborah's bills. They was in debt heavily. Wine was held back. They got the life insurance, they sold the cars, they got car insurance, they got everything before the legal process started. Does that make sense? If you don't have a will, it goes back to the maternal grandmother. You check it out and see if I'm right. Tommy Joe, Deborah had one, the I love you will. So I leave you or you leave me, and if I die first, it's as if you know what I'm talking about. Melissa didn't. If that baby had been born, that would have brought the Walkers into the estate. The Widemans wouldn't have, it had been divided up. So Miss Widman was in her deathbed anyway. And the Widemans was in financial trouble. Without pointing the finger, as the man from America's Most Wanted told me, follow the money and you get the criminals. $4 or $5 million, 2,000 acres of land, a bunch of stock, house on Fernandina Beach on the ocean.
From the outside, it may not appear that the Wideman inheritance was exceptionally large, but according to him, when it was broken down, it amounted to $4 or $5 million.
And I think there's a lot with Kendrick and the Widemans together. They've been seen going to parties in Florida in limousines and things like ball games and things like that. He stopped everything. I mean, a sheriff is a powerful man. He stopped a lot of things. He stopped the GBI if he wants to. And that's the reason I think it's boiling down to the Widemans live with Rebecca. They was one of the first ones out there. And then Randy Kendrick was the sheriff. And he stopped a lot of things, just like investigation or things like that. He's the one who gives the okay to bulldoze the house down. A friend of whoever done it is going to have to talk or listen and hear something. Well, you know, GBI ain't going to tell you much or nothing. So I can't verify if things were said or told or not. I can't. I don't know. When you're sitting in my position, ain't nobody going to talk to you in the enforcement, hardly. That's the reason I got an investigator. He told me that he couldn't tell me anything. He'd have to tell the enforcement, but the enforcement people didn't let him do nothing. And he's retired in Jacksonville, Florida. It cost me $500 for him to come up here and ride and talk to Randy Kendrick and go back. And then he said, you know, if I can't get a piece of information to start on, and if he puts out the word don't talk to nobody, there ain't nothing I can do. I'll be wasting your money.
So that mysterious phone call we played last episode, we shared it with this individual. Turns out, 10 years earlier, he'd heard a similar story from the same person.
There's a good possibility of what he's saying. There's a good bit of truth to it. It's very possible to happen that way.
Just without all the details.
He didn't go into this detail like you got. No, he did not. Now, I don't know when he learned all this either. All I know is all of a sudden, shortly thereafter that, he got killed in a car wreck. And again, one of them coincidences or whatever, there's a lot of things happening. Over the years, a lot of people have died that knew things.
Not many years after these murders took place, a key player in this story died in a car wreck. But, according to the story, other even more important players are still alive.
I think they wrote a lot of things off. Then, I don't know what they had their eyes on, or they had their eyes focused on. If you give it to GBI, are they going to do anything with it? I don't know. If you pursue it yourself, I don't know which way is going to be the best, to be honest with you.
Remember when we played that anonymous call in episode 2? We've decided we want to play you some more, but we're still keeping the names out of it.
Who will probably never speak of it. They were good friends with this Chip Wideman. I believe hired the people that murdered those people. They murdered them and burned the house. It's a hell of a story. Now, why am I interested in it? Who was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and who finally killed himself in a high-speed car accident. He and were the alibi that night for the prime suspect in the murder case. Do you understand what I'm telling you? They were his only alibi.
Our producer, Payne, received that phone call a year ago. When we started the sworn investigation, Mason reached out to the same individual to get some input on the story. A half hour later, he called Mason back.
Hello.
Is this Mason Lindsay?
Yes, this is.
Don't ever call me about this. I don't like your brother. I don't like you. And I don't know a goddamn thing about the murder case you asked me about. But I do know about y'all. What a bunch of swine you are. So don't ever call me, okay?
We decided that this information was too sensitive to sit on by ourselves, so executive producer Payne Lindsay and I made an editorial decision and decided that Payne should contact Jason Shadell of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and he passed this information along. We'll continue to follow this case in the future and plan to come out with more episodes in a few months. So, please, if you have any information at all about this case, contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. You can also contact us directly at sworntips@gmail.com. Sworn is produced by Tenderfoot TV in Atlanta. Story and production by Payne Lindsay, Mason Lindsay, and Meredith Stedman, and myself, Philip Holloway. Sound design by Payne Lindsay. Executive producers Donald Albright and Payne Lindsay. Mixed and mastered by Resonate Recordings. Also, if you haven't yet, please check out our sister podcast, Up and Vanished, that follows the investigation into the disappearance of Georgia high school teacher and beauty queen Tara Grinstead. Up and Vanished is available now on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. This is Philip Holloway, and I'll see you next time on Sworn. New episodes of Sworn will be available 7 days early on TuneIn. Download the TuneIn app and listen for free. Hear new shows from other great podcasts on TuneIn before anywhere else. You can find our new episodes at tunein.com/sworn. That's tunein.com/sworn.